Should we do this Kristi Noem thing, or?
Sure.
Probably going to want to get to it now because I feel like there's going to be a sell-by date on some of this Noem stuff.
The interesting thing about Kristi Noem, her political instincts are super.
Yeah. Right.
That's the thing is that, like, I don't think they fully understand who Sarah Palin was when McCain picked her. And, McCain had to, in some way, pick her. And so people should really understand this because it's a really important part of the story. The growth of nothing, in my experience, happens in a direct straight line. It usually is like a peak. It surges and then it drops down to a new higher level and then back up like this. You can see it with, we could see it with our membership and our you can see it across everything. And certainly in the Republican Party. What happened with John McCain was he wanted to pick Joe Lieberman to be his running mate because he wanted to do something that was sort of centrist, but he knew that he would never survive the convention if that was the case. And he knew that there was growing anger from the conservative base of the Republican Party in 2008. And so he thought like, I'm going to throw them a bone, and that bone is going to be Sarah Palin, and Sarah Palin became essentially a burning tire around his neck, and I think helped him keep most of the Republican Party, but made it impossible for him to expand beyond that.
She also paved the way for Trump. I mean, like, her politics are very much what Trump picked up. 100%.
And she was like the sort of the test run for Trump, and I don't think that Trump is going to make the same mistake with Kristi Noem. I don't think Trump's politics are any better than Kristi Noem's. It's just that, like, all the other stuff that you can get away with in being a governor of a state with a population of like a, large city, maybe, or a mid-sized city, somewhere in between there.
Yeah.
You can get away with that there, but you can't get away with it nationally. This is like one of like Kristi Noem's sort of like, what books do you read moment? And she already had the answer to that. But here is the one where we're now having to, she wrote some type of, I can't tell if it was a lie in her book. And let's be clear, this was not a mistake. She did the audio version of the book.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So she read this out loud twice. Yeah, she recorded it herself.
And it went through editors.
I can see other editors screwing up and not questioning this, and editing these days, in books like this is probably minimal. But she read it out loud twice.
Into the record.
Into, like in a recording booth. And, but here she is now sort of backtracking from it and saying it was just a mistake, sort of. But I have another theory about this.
You write about lessons learned in leadership, and you bring up some specific incidents I want to ask you about. You talk about meeting some world leaders, and one specific one, quote, "I remember when I met with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. I'd been a children's pastor after all." Did you meet Kim Jong-un?
Well, pause it for 1 second. Even if she met Kim Jong-un, how did she stare him down? But go ahead.
Pastor after all. Did you meet Kim Jong-un?
Well, as soon as this was brought to my attention, I certainly made some changes and looked at this passage. And I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. As soon as it was brought to my attention, we went forward and have made some edits. So I'm glad that this book is being released in a couple of days, and that those edits will be in place, and that people will have the updated version.
So you did not meet with Kim Jong-un. That's what you're saying.
I've met with many world leaders. I traveled around the world. I think I've talked extensively in this book about my time serving in Congress, my time as governor, before governor, some of the travels that I've had. I'm not going to talk about my specific meetings with world leaders. I'm just not going to do that. This anecdote shouldn't have been in the book, and as soon as it was brought to my attention, I made sure that was adjusted. So the book is not released until Tuesday, and so we're doing all that we can to make sure that those changes are made, and I'm going to continue to focus on what this book is and the blueprint that it lays out for the American citizen, on all of the things in the background and stories of my life, but also what I think that needs to be identified in politics and what's broken today. I talk about how broken the money game is, how broken it is that we've got consultants that are getting rich off of elected officials, and then how fake some elected politicians are. Every single person in this country wants someone in elected office that's a human being. That doesn't say they're perfect. I take responsibility for that being in the book, and as soon as it was brought to my attention, I asked for it to be changed. So I'm glad that the release date is in a couple of days, and we're excited to talk to America about my new book, No Going Back.
Pause it. So now she says, now she's going to say, Margaret, is my time out?
Yeah.
Did I make it? Do we run out of time? I'm sorry. Did we run out of time? I'm sorry. Once I start talking about the book, I can't stop because the book is so important. It's about my childhood and about all the things I hope for America and blah, blah, blah. And of course, are we out of time now? Because what time are we going to? I've got 2 more minutes. Actually, I've got to go to lunch, but yes, thank you, Mark.
And also, I love the tacit admission. I didn't write this crap. I mean, she either didn't write her own book, which is supposedly about her experiences.
Of course she has a
ghostwriter, right?
But where did the ghostwriter get the idea?
I don't know.
But wait a second. Here we go. Now here's some there's some fuzziness here. Now it's unclear. She's going to say that she visited the demilitarized zone. Now, back when the Iron Curtain of the Soviet Union existed in East Germany, I actually took a trip into East Germany and went to a museum. You could do that. You could go like a little tour and stuff like that. And I remember when I faced down, I can't remember who it would have been. I stared down that little worm, Gorbachev. And on this trip, I was in East Germany. So, yeah, I mean, okay, go ahead.
Talk to America about my new book, No Going Back.
So you talk about your time in the Armed Services Committee from 2013 to 2015. In that period of time, the leader of South Korea was a female president. I'm wondering, who is it that you confused Kim Jong-un with?
Well, I think you need to remember, Margaret, and everybody needs to remember that I've worked on ag policy and federal policy for over 30 years. My time in serving and making policies in this country has been extensive and covered decades.
Right, but you never went to North Korea.
Specifics in this book. I talk about the fact that, yes, I have. I've been there. So
you went to North Korea?
You went to the DMZ, and there are details. There are details in this book that talk about going to the DMZ and specifics that I'm willing to share. There's some specifics I'm not willing to share with you. I've traveled the world and I visited with world leaders.
Okay,
and some of that is referenced
she's
in
at the DMZ, involved in ag policy, maybe. I can't, the only other thing that occurs to me, and I don't know if she could have managed to get out of there, is that she was rumored to be involved with Corey Lewandowski. It's not inconceivable that
horrible rumor
that
should never repeat it.
They traveled with the president. Trump went into the DMZ, right? Didn't he step over
the demarried zone?
The demarried zone. And maybe there was some type of secret meeting we're not aware of. Where, hold on, I want you to meet Corey and Christy. You're not going to, and also, listen, this is, we don't talk about this on social media because they're not together.
Oh,
she's got the,
they were trying to get in the mood. They were trying to get a romantic getaway to North Korea.
Kim Jong-un, Christy, again, don't say anything. And Christy and Christy Noem just goes like, you short little man. I'm gonna stare you down. And that could have happened. I'm just trying to be
Or maybe she thought Kim was short for Kimberly or something like that. I mean, like she loves Billie Holiday's music. She loves him.
Christy met Kimberly Jong she works in the White House. I don't understand how she this is embarrassing. Go ahead, just give it a little more.
I've traveled the world and I visited with world leaders, and some of that is referenced in the book, and this anecdote is something that when it was brought to my attention, we made some changes, and when the book's released, we'll do all that we can to see that is reflected.
Okay. Well, I'm asking about that specifically because you made the point to bring him up twice and that he was a little tyrant.
Do you have a question for me, Margaret?
Yes, I do. South Korea is a treaty ally. North Korea is a nuclear-armed adversary. So that's a pretty big thing to confuse. I know you read this book before it was published because you released video of your recording of the audiobook. You didn't catch these errors when you were recording it?
Oh, Margaret, as soon as it was brought to my attention, I took action to make sure that it was reflected. And listen, this is what is so discouraging about politics and the media today, is that we have the White House that just recently came out.
All right. Amazing.
The media's line, like the media that I just released that I have to edit, after recording it into
an audiobook.
And so later in the interview, they mentioned a different part about how if she were to get to the White House, she would treat Commander Biden's dog, like Cricket.
Oh yeah, she said she said that Commander meet Cricket.
Yeah. So she wanted to circle back.
That
and
is
say,
all like
I'd kill Biden's dog.
That is
too.
all like somebody saying when Trump gets in trouble, he doubles down. Right. And so you got to double down. You can't back off. You killed the dog.
And I'm going to kill your dog too.
You killed the puppy. So now what you got to go out there, the only way you're going to normalize this is by saying that you should be killing other dogs.
Trump 2024, let me at that dog.
I'm sure some of the dogs are good dogs.
I just can't believe the audacity of her lie. Oof. Wow.
And then like that, it was brought to our attention and we made some modifications. Like it's a mural and like some like unfortunate reference was made and they had to paint over it. It was a lie. Like you told a lie.
Well.
Or she just can't tell the Korean people apart.
It's sort of fascinating. Like what was that? Like they just want to make it. She needs to show there was no other adversary that she could claim that she had met with, or
she wanted to shoehorn the fact that she'd worked in a church into it and call them little tyrants.
What was the name of Ben Gazzara's character in Roadhouse? Because maybe she could have said like, I confronted that guy, and because she needed something in there to show her strength on an international level.
It's tough though, because Palin had the advantage that she could see Russia from her house, and
that's the thing. It's the exact same problem. I went toe to toe with Kim Jong Un on ag policy. Believe me. Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.